Hello and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am JM, and with me is Richard. Richard, welcome back to talk about Amboria.
Hello, I'm very happy to be here.
So, we actually have a huge announcement to share. Our
This is
social medias,
breaking news, people.
breaking news.
This
Uh,
literally just happened.
and this is fact, this is not our humble opinion. Um, Amboria, role playing in the world under Starlight, has just been selected as one of the projects that Kickstarter loves. So, we're going to be posting about, with the hashtag project we love. This is actually a big deal. I welcome our robot masters,
Yes,
but
yes.
algorithms and search algorithms are not things that I normally like interacting with. But this pushes Amboria up in the search algorithm. And actually, I guess our first thing is, Richard, we're 9 days in. We're doing a 40-day
Yes.
Kickstarter, so we're almost a
Yep.
quarter of the way through, and Amboria has generated $25,000 of support.
It's like at this point, that's like, don't please nobody take this the wrong way. That's just a number at this point. Like I can't wrap my head around that there are $25,000 worth of people like interested in this. Like I can't obviously like I love it, I believe in it, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah,
But like it's just like I can't even wrap my head around that, and we've still got a month to go. The other number that's really the other two things that are really exciting to me. One is that's with 213 backers, which if you do the math means we have some really really enthusiastic people. But then the other thing is that we did some sort of I don't know the right I don't know the right words for these, but I call them prestige tiers. Like the really high like 150 $200 tiers. And I've watched a lot of Kickstarters. I did some very scary math the other day about how many I backed over the years,
yeah. Don't ever
which
look at
is
that. That is a number
yeah,
that
it's a
needs to
lot,
remain
but it's
eldritch.
still less than half that our friend Ben has backed.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but anyway, I backed a lot of Kickstarters, and those like really high prestige slots. I'm always like really skeptical. Like, okay, well, who's doing that? Well, apparently you guys are because, yeah. So we had a backer level called Heroes Errant, which is basically like you get all the books, but also I'm gonna run a game for you.
Hmm.
And 25 people, and we limited it to 25 people, and 25 people backed. So then we opened a new Heroes Errant tier, this time at $200, and we've had 8 people back. This means that I'm about to run games for like 30 something people, maybe 40 by the time it's over, which I am very excited about. I am of course doing the most Richard Rowland thing ever, and that is taking it way too far.
Yeah,
Like this is not going to be each group of 5 people gets to play through the same one shot, which like somebody else might do. But my plan is to take all of these adventures and actually link them together into a massive summer long event called the Midnight War, which will, among other things, actually determine the future state in canon of the world under Starlight. So it's basically like a huge civil war and also lots of other magical shenanigans going on. So we're going
I
to
do
we're
love
going to run
magical
the
shenanigans.
yep we're going to run the Midnight War, and then the Midnight War will be I mean probably a future book that we do at this point.
Yeah,
So yeah, so I mean just like a huge thanks to all of the people who have backed at these levels. And everybody. Like we've had some incredibly generous, really excited people. I love it all. And I want to make this experience like I want people to feel like they're really getting their money's worth out of this. I want to make it a really memorable experience. So look forward to that, everybody. We're gonna figure out. I've got to figure out the logistics of how we're gonna do this, but I'm very excited about it.
yeah,
So
I'm looking forward to it. I love the fact that, so if you're not a member of the iconic, or sorry, well, the iconic production patronage as well, but the Strange Owl specifically,
yes,
patreon.com/Strange Owl Games, Richard will be posting updates from the Midnight War as part of our Patreon backing going forward. We're not going to switch the
yes,
the we will eventually, when we get our next game up and running, we'll do our playtest tiers, but there will always be just an Amboria tier because Richard just has so much
I have
stuff
stuff.
that he
I have
wants to
stuff.
share. So, all right, so we funded in 6 hours.
Yes. Less than 6 hours according to the sticker.
Yeah, neither of us were really prepared for that. Thank you, Phantom. Phantom of Truth, one of our moderators, just put the link to the Patreon.
Aha.
By the way, good to see you. I will get back to you. Don't think that's slipped my mind. I will explain it. But yeah, we launched right at the time that I was starting behind the screen, so 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and by 4 we had funded. Like
Yep.
we ended up having a hangout that night. You, Ben, who's on our show, and my wife Trish, who does all of our layout and editing, just to celebrate the fact that
Yeah, I remember like sort of sitting there on my phone within the last within somewhere between 3 and 4 p.m. just like refreshing, and between like two refreshes the dollar amount just doubled, like some really big backers all at once. It was just amazing. It completely blew my mind.
yeah,
And again, it's one of these things like I feel deeply touched, and I want to be able to give back. Obviously, you guys are getting a game that hopefully is going to be pretty cool and you're going to like it. But the other thing that I have that we put out is we actually put out kind of a nice little just a freebie. Like it could have been a stretch goal or something, but I just wanted to release it to everybody now. So everybody that backed would have just received a PDF
mm-hmm.
of a narrative poem called "The Elder Lay of Sancan," which is a really cool poem about the founding of the Amborian people, the forging of a magical sword, fighting monsters, freeing the Amborai from slavery, all this stuff, and then a PDF of that, and then also an audio version of that, because especially for people who are not used to reading poetry,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't always, I've talked to many people before who just felt like, you know, have told me things like, I'd be more interested in this poem that you wrote or whatever if I knew how to read it. Could you like just like record
Mm-hmm.
it or read it out loud or something like that, so I can get a sense of what the meter is supposed to sound like. So we also included a recording, which my wife actually listened to this morning. She hadn't listened to it yet, so she listened this morning while she was doing some chores or something, and she was like, "So what are you gonna record for me tomorrow?"
Yeah.
But
What have you
yeah,
recorded
so
for me lately?
yes, exactly. That's always how my wife is. She's always like, "So what stories have you written for me lately?"
That's right.
Um, but yeah, so anyway, that's just the kind of thing that if you're on the fence about this project, that's the kind of thing you can sort of expect. Is just there's going to be like, I will always do more than is reasonable.
Yeah.
That's always my goal, is just be like, welcome to my world. But yeah, so anyway, I'm beyond excited. I'm honestly also like weirdly tired. Like I think like the letdown from that first crazy week of the Kickstarter and everything, and now I'm just like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is crazy. But
Now we're in the
yeah, sorry.
endurance portion.
Yeah, now we're in the endurance portion. Yeah, and then there'll be like another big boost, last week or so. But yeah, I'm just busy right now. Finalizing manuscripts. I have lots of notes that I had to migrate. Thunder in the North, which is the campaign book, is a campaign that I've actually run.
It's been play
But
tested.
there's a gap between um, the notes that like these make sense to me, and then something I can actually give somebody else. But I'm really, really pleased with how the book is coming together. I'm really
Awesome.
excited about it. So
Awesome. So that's one thing I wanted to make known. Much like Space 1889, once the funds post, all of the backers are going to get PDF drafts of the text. Like the
yeah,
text is basically done. You
yep,
guys will see it sometime the middle of July, 2 weeks after the Kickstarter closes. And that's kind of the way we like to run Kickstarters. We want you guys to know that we're coming to talk about art and production. We're not talking like the writing is done. We don't use Kickstarter to kind of see, oh well, do we should we start writing this game or not? Like
right,
this
right,
is
right,
something that
right.
we like having in production moving forward. So we've already unlocked 4 stretch goals and are heading towards our 5th, or have we unlocked 5 and are heading towards our 6th?
Brr.
I'm looking at it
Oh,
right now. All right, so our first stretch goal was uh, the Book of Odes, which is a
yes.
giant book of liturgical poetry for the
And
world.
again, technically, it is the first two
2
books of
books of
odes.
odes, yes.
First two books of odes.
There are more books of
There
odes
are three more
coming
books of odes. Yeah.
on the Kickstarter stretch goals. We've unlocked ribbon bookmarks
Yeah.
for both
Which,
books.
if you're a book person, you know how big a deal this is.
I just got a new Savage Worlds Deadlands book in, and it's about 210 pages, and it has 3 ribbon bookmarks in there, and I loves it. I loves it a lot. Hey, Rook,
Mhm.
thanks, sir, for your generosity and some Amboria to celebrate. Exactly. Rook is dedicated to being our first 4-year backer, and it's just continuing to inch that up more and more. So we've
I love
unlocked
it.
ribbon bookmarks in both books. We've unlocked the Secrets of the Rose Quartz, which is a solo adventure, which we'll come back and chat about real quick. We've unlocked an STL file for an Amborian mini, and we've unlocked the first beauty upgrade. So Richard and I, uh, if you're new to the Iconic Production channel, go check out episode 100 where I talk about beauty and role-playing games. We're big fans of the idea that, as Dostoevsky said, beauty will save the world.
Dostoevsky. Yes.
Dostoevsky. Um, and so we were just like, at least a third, if not half of our stretch goals are to make these books
Yeah.
even more beautiful. So,
Yeah. I want these books to be beautiful and enjoyable. I'm trying to make the prose good. I'm trying to, I want the books to be beautiful and enjoyable to read and to hold, like, even when you're not playing the game.
yeah,
Obviously, I hope that you also, play the game. Some people out there, I'm not saying anybody in this Zoom call, but some people out there might buy a lot of games that they never end up running. But I hope that people will run this one when they get it. But regardless, I want it to be something beautiful, something worth holding, and also just kind of um, like a respite for
yeah,
an oversaturated media culture.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk about a couple of the stretch goals, but John Doom says that Amboria sounds like a delicious cocktail. We
Hmm.
should come up with something
Hmm.
to share. And then Phantom wanted to know um, who made the mini. Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the Sergeant of the Red Fangs mini.
Yes. So, the miniature was made by my good friend Aaron from Sizerworks. He's a 3D art. He's a digital artist and 3D sculptor that lives about an hour north of where I live. Anyway, he's in the area, and we kind of became friends via social media. And then when he saw the project going down, he kind of basically volunteered his services. I think there's a link on the somewhere in the Kickstarter to but it's Sizerworks
Yeah,
is the
send me
name
the
of
link
his
and we'll
his
put it in the
company.
show notes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's great and he's very good, very, very fast. I'm actually incredibly pumped. Depending on how many stretch goals we hit, there are more miniatures planned.
There are more
And
miniatures planned.
he recently sent me the latest version of the next one he's working on, which I'm not going to spoil, but holy cow
It looks really cool.
is all I can say.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really excited about it.
yeah. So anyway, yeah. So the the miniature that we unlocked, and again, it is an STL file which you can add on. But if you've got your own, if you've got your own 3D printer, or you could just like take the STL file and send it off to any one of a number of print-on-demand places like online. I think even like Hero Forge and stuff like that, you can send the STL file to them and they'll print it for you. But it's of one of the Knights of the Red Fangs. So the Knights of the Red Fang are, you could say, like the sort of premier military order in the lands around the sea. So they have a large island fortress called the Red Isle, the Wakes Rambo, and they have a few different things going for them. Obviously, they have a very sort of Spartan-like society, strong emphasis on military discipline. Everybody there, even the people who aren't the actual knights, are still like martial people. They're warriors, but also because of the location of the Red Isle over the years, it's also become an important center for trade. So it's a really interesting place. It's one of my favorite places in the lands around the sea. It's not going to come up so much in this campaign book, but it'll definitely be there in some future books that I have planned. Um, but the Knights of the Red Isle, the Orgaya Yelbora, which roughly translates to the Order of the Red Fang. The Order of the Red Fang, they have a specific blade, a red called the Red Fang Longsword, which is basically their signature weapon. It's identifiable by everybody throughout. Most Amborians use leaf bladed or kind of double leaf shaped swords. But the Knights of the Red Fang use a much like straighter edge. What to our eye actually looks like a more traditional longsword or greatsword, but actually is considered really unusual in Emborian society.
Right, because they're
Anyways,
we
yeah,
have similar loves. I mean, jackals and Emboria.
yeah,
Right, leaf blade swords are far more common outside of the Red Isle, correct?
yeah. That's what I was just saying. The normal Emborian sword shape is sort of a double leaf blade.
Yeah.
So a leaf blade sword is a sword that goes
Yep. And then
like
the
that.
double leaf blade.
So the double leaf is usually you have about, let's say, depending on the type of sword, maybe 3/4 to 2/3 of the blade is the first leaf, and then it contracts and then expands again and comes to a sharper point.
Yeah.
Um, that's the normal Emborian sword blade, which you will actually, if you just look at the art on the Kickstarter page, if you look at the Duelist of Senkankar, you can see he's got a sort of typical Emborian sword.
Let me
Yeah.
see if I can get that pulled up while you continue to talk about this.
Yes. So anyway, the Knights of the Red Fang are really cool. They're really, really cool. They're one of my favorite things in the groups of people in the setting. This is a playable. It's one of the playable cultures. Is the Wixrenbori, that is the people of the Red Isle. And there's a mechanic in Amboria. We could mention this actually as something that's been added from one of the big differences between the rules for Amboria and the rules for Jackals is that Amboria has a much expanded uh, and very setting specific set of uh, seasonal undertakings. So one of the seasonal undertakings that you can do is to join or undertake work for or promote or etc. Basically, there's a whole tree of seasonal undertakings you can take to join and participate in one of the various military or chivalric orders in the lands around the sea. And so with a sort of like the idea of like regimental pride and your military unit, your legion, et cetera, things like this. These are very important to the Amborai, and it's one of the things that really distinguishes the different geographic areas as well. So if you're from, so there's the Knights of the Red Fang, there is the Leopard Knights, who are sort of an order of itinerant or um, errant, like yeah, in the sense of like going on quests. They're an order of sort of itinerant troubadour knights. There's the Odonev Yaltath, which are basically the royal guard. There's the river legions, which are the northern legions that protect the passages of the Chafe and so on. So there are a number of different military orders. And actually, if you are famous enough, you can even found a military order of your own.
Mm-hmm.
And then possibly other people in other areas and provinces and cities will build chapter houses for your military order, and your fame can spread.
Yeah.
So it's not just a game about the military or something like that, but it is a major part of the setting. And that's certainly, if you're playing a more martial character, there's basically just a whole path. This is actually the true for merchants as well. And for scholars, scholars have a massive tree of seasonal undertakings they can take in terms of composing and studying. And if you are the kind of person who wants to do like, you want to write drama like plays, right? Put on plays and things like that. There's stuff. So there's kind of no matter what your character is, whatever your character is, when they're not an adventurer, there are seasonal undertakings that cover
Yep.
that. And the idea is that the seasonal undertakings are actually sort of a mini game that you do, ideally just kind of like one-on-one with the lore master between sessions, or sometimes you just like, but sometimes we would just do a dedicated, it'd be the first hour of the session.
Yeah.
We just go around and do our seasonal undertakings because there's a lot of cool role-playing opportunities that come up in the course of those. It's the point is that unlike some modern games where all the really important stuff happens in a 2 week period,
Hmm.
and
You go
which
from
is
level 1 to 20 in 2 weeks.
yeah, I think I did the math once, and D&D fifth edition expects, based on their encounter math, like how many encounters you get per day and how much XP encounter should be worth. It's something like 31 or 32 days. You go from level 1 to 20 in D&D fifth edition. So basically, you have all the most important things that happen in your life happening in 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, whereas in this game, like the seasonal adventures are important, but actually the things that you do when you're at home are equally important and will have a lot of bearing on the adventures.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the role of years is very important to the clash system.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of so that's kind of what this mini is about, and it's really cool looking. I may or may not be making plans to print about 40 of them,
yeah.
um, and put them in like a movement tray and get a little rink and flink action going on.
Yeah, you could totally
Which
do you could bring them as humans for our Oathmark game.
Well, they'd be more like elves in Northmark, but
Fair.
like cost and ability wise. But actually, I mean, one of the things that will be in Thunder in the North will be some very simple. When I say simple, I mean maybe 2 to 4 pages,
Yeah.
but some very simple rules for doing wargaming, like mass battles with the Clash system. So this is one of the things that I wanted to do because there are the Thunder in the North is the kind of campaign that obviously players can choose what they do and don't want to be involved in, but there are consequences for not taking action, let's say.
Yeah.
But so it's the kind of campaign that will have sieges and pitched battles and skirmishes and things like this. And different tables have a different interest level in playing out battles. Some people might just want to do kind of something abstract. So we're going to provide a system for that. That's going to be plug and play from battle to battle. If the GM, the lore master wants to figure out kind of in an abstract way what's happening around the players as the players are fighting out their own localized skirmish or going after their objective. We've got a way to do that. We're also going to though I'm going to include some rules that I secretly hope will be the basis of maybe like a full game later.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to include some rules for basically wargaming with a clash system. So if you're the kind of person you're like, I'd like to, get a million minis and put them on the table and play a battle out, Thunder North will have some rules for that. So I'm pretty old school in the sense that old school games are about a lot of, let's say, like modular procedures,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you can decide which ones you want. So if you're like, oh, that's too much, doesn't really fit my table, it's fine. You don't have to use it. But there will be like procedures or mini games or whatever you want to call them that easily bolt on for each facet of play.
Mm-hmm.
And so the most expansive campaign uses all of that stuff, but then maybe for whatever is good at your table and what makes sense as your table, maybe you use a little less, but which is okay too. But
Yeah, totally fine.
yeah, so that's kind of what I have in mind.
All right, so let's talk about the other stretch goal we unlocked. The beauty upgrades kind of make sense. We want to make the book more beautiful. The next one is at 27,000, which we're getting close to. I'm hoping we'll hit
Yep.
that by the end of the week. We're only about just under $1,700 from the next
Yeah.
Kickstarter goal, which is just going to increase the art density. We're going to
I'm
get Bob to do more art for the book.
yeah, this is quite important to me, and I'm very excited about it. Yeah, and it's art density for both books too,
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome.
yeah.
So
But we've got Secret of the Rose Quartz. So tell us about Secret of the Rose Quartz, and then we're going to talk about what may potentially be on the future of
yeah,
the stretch goals.
so the Secret of Rose Quartz is a solo adventure. It's a little bit like Call of Cthulhu meets Pride and Prejudice meets, it's just there's a little bit of romance, there's a little bit of investigation. There are like cursed idols and ancient
I
curses.
did review Regency Cthulhu
Oh,
on the show. So,
I had no idea that was even a thing,
oh
but
yeah,
of course it is.
of course
Of
it's
course it is.
gorgeous.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, there you go. Something out there for everybody. But anyway, it's a kind of so it's a solo adventure. So if you ever played like one of those choose your own adventure novels when you were a kid, right? This is that kind of a thing, except with dice and a character sheet. It's a solo adventure, so you can just play it solo. You can play it through multiple times. There are plenty of fail states which end in death or worse. But there are also like a couple of paths to success. It was a lot of fun to write. Actually, I'm very proud of even the prose in it. I think if you just typed the whole thing out in a linear way, you would make a really enjoyable short story. But it's got a couple of purposes. One was just to like write a solo adventure because that was a fun challenge. But the other is that it's really intended to be a good introduction to the world under Starlight. So it teaches you a lot about the setting as you go, and the history and who the Amborai are. And the other thing that you can do is just like in Jackals, in Amboria, there are some questions. Like there's a questionnaire you can fill out about your
Hmm.
character to get extra advancements during character creation. But you can use this as you could give this to the solo adventure to a player and
Hmm.
say, play this through with your new character, and then the advancements you get from that adventure, those would be your starting advancements instead. And you get a certain number of advancements depending on what you uncover, how you investigate,
Yeah.
etc. So if you just want like, here's a bit of backstory for your character, obviously you can't do it for everybody in the party. But you could give this to a new player and say play through this, and then that's going to give us your backstory, and then we're going to know why you've come to the marches of the Chafe in the case of Thunder in the North. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, Now, this is not the only adventure we have planned as stretch goals. The next one was just revealed. It's a matter of honor. It's the first of a
yes,
trio of adventures that may
yes.
be available as stretch goals. And who knows, if we just blow the roof off things, maybe these four adventures could be
Oh yeah, yeah.
collated. Who knows?
Yeah, so the Matter of Honor is it's part of a trilogy of adventures that I basically intended as this will teach you not only teach you how to play as a player, but teach you how to run as a lore master,
Hmm.
how to run a game of the world under Starlight. And because of this, it basically that first adventure hits all of the major themes of the setting, but it also hits all of the major subsystems that the system uses.
Yeah.
And so there's romance, there's intrigue, there's ancient evil, there's politics, there's strange battle with monsters
Yeah.
underground. There's all this different stuff, but also like you get a journey and you get some social stuff, and basically it would acquaint a new lore master. Let's say your 5e group says, well, let's try this Amboria thing one night. This is the adventure to start with. It's a
Hmm.
really cool adventure. It has a twist at the end, and I have to say, it is personally like when I ran it the first time, and this was the first ever Emporia adventure run actually. Um, when I ran it for the first time, it was it is still one of my best, and I can't say without spoiling it, but maybe I'll tell the story in one of these future videos. It is one of the best game RPG stories that I have. It
Awesome.
was it was sneaky and diabolical and amazing, and all of us still think back to that session even now. So yeah,
Awesome.
so that's a matter of honor. And then there are two follow-up adventures. It's intended to be part of a trilogy for explaining here's how your character got to the Marches of the Chafe. The Marches of the Chafe is the setting of for Thunder in the North.
Yeah.
So again, you don't have to use it. You could just say we're already here, or we're here for other reasons. But um, but if you wanted to like play through a trilogy of adventures, which would get you a pretty significant number of advancements,
Yeah.
this is that. So yeah, it's a really cool adventure, and I hope that we hit it. Seems kind of likely at this point.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We have a lot of stretch goals planned. And so the thing to remember is the more here in the middle weeks that if you're watching the project and you're on the fence, the more people who come off the fence and go from watching to backing means we're going to get to unlock more of these stretch goals here in uh, in the middle of the project so that more people can be enticed. We have a lot of beauty upgrades. These are going to be some of the. I'm looking forward to having these books on hand
Yep.
in person. We've got ideas for how to use the end papers. We've got ideas for maps. We have ideas for cards that may go along with the campaign. We have more STL files that are being worked on. And we even have, there's the possibility if the project gets high enough that Richard and I will be working on a Clash SRD for kind of a more, let's call it traditional high fantasy version of Clash.
If
Uh,
you were like, Clash is dope, but I want more greenskins.
yeah, you will
I
have an
just I
opportunity.
painted that over lunch. Um, yeah,
Yeah. And we've
yeah.
got some
There's
ideas for making it really fast, simple character creation, all the way to kind of where we have Amboria and Jackals
yeah.
kind of tuned in.
This is a lot more granular. Yeah,
Yeah, but we would make that available as an SRD so people could take the Clash system and design their own Clash games. But that
yeah.
requires the Kickstarter to continue to increment up. So if you haven't, please back. If you have
Yes.
backed, share it. Kickstarter gives you that slick button that says "I'm number blah 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 backer of this."
Tell your
Share it on social
friends.
media. Yeah,
Tell your mom. Tell your senile great aunt. Tell
yeah.
your trust fund baby friend who
These are all
just
people that Richard has reached out to already in his
yes,
life.
already.
So. And we're hoping sometime, this has actually been requested several times now. We're hoping
Oh,
sometime before the end of the campaign to get Richard on the Iconic Production channel to run a one or a two shot of Amboria so that people can really
I
see.
I got the adventure ready to go. So just let me know.
All
Let me
right,
know when. I'll
we'll
be
figure
there.
that out later today. So, all right, well, Richard, any final things you'd like to say about Amboria before we.
I mean, thanks to everybody's backed it so far. I hope everybody else will get on board. I don't know, guys. I'm just really excited about bringing this to you. And like,
Yeah,
even if you're like, here's what I'd say. Like, if you're on the fence or whatever, you're like, go back at $1 and go download the epic poem and the recording that we dropped a couple of
yeah,
days ago, and just like listen to that or read it. And if you come away from it being like, you know what, magic, swords, and ancient, like history and poetry, and like that's not for me, then that's okay. That's
yeah.
fine. But I think that you'll
That poem
like
is, as our
read
friend
that,
Ben
listen to
said,
it.
is metal.
It
Like,
is metal.
is
It's
very
pretty.
metal.
Yeah. Actually, if anybody out there wants to do a metal concept album, please at
Yeah,
me.
we got the cover
Yeah,
already set up.
we
So,
actually do.
all right.
Oh, when are we? Yeah, that should be our next video. Is do like a cover reveal. I think that would be
Yeah.
pretty neat whenever it's ready.
All right. Well, there's the link. I'll put it in the show notes. Richard, thanks. We're gonna do one of these every Tuesday until the campaign wraps up. Um, I did realize I should have looked at this earlier. I don't know that I'll be able to do a watch party with you when the campaign's ending because it ends on a Sunday morning.
Oh yeah, no, probably
Yeah,
not.
no. So I will be watching live.
Yep,
Uh, I'll bring in Richard that afternoon. We'll hang
that's
out and
right. That's right.
we'll have a debriefing, if you will. So, all right. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. Thanks, Richard, for coming on. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday afternoon, hopefully with more discussions in Amboria. Talk about all the cool Kickstarter goals, stretch goals that we've unlocked. Thanks again to everybody who helped make this a project that Kickstarter loves. This is going to help us with the algorithm. It's going to go out in the newsletter. It's going to be awesome. So, have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
And we're out.